Good evening and good morning to our friends in India. Thanks for joining us today. I'm DC Agarwal, President of IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation. Welcome to Heritage Foundation's Silver Jubilee celebration. Before I start, just an housekeeping item. Please post the requested information in the chat room. Plus, at program end, please stay and join the different breakout rooms. Welcome again. We celebrate anniversaries for a reason, and Heritage Foundation's 25th is no different. It is to remember, rejoice, and renew. We need to remember our founding, we need to rejoice in our accomplishments, and we need to renew ourselves for the future. I will cover all three elements over the course of the next 60 minutes. The idea to establish IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation came about when a group of individuals met over a weekend and decided to do something to help their alma mater. IIT Bombay had played a big role in their accomplishments, and they wanted to do something in return. Heritage Foundation today is a result of that initiative. It has touched the lives of thousands of students, faculty, researchers, and alumni. Equally important, that alumni initiative helped build the IIT brand in US and elsewhere. Employers know the value of IIT Bombay education thanks to HF volunteers who worked on the 60 Minutes program. It helped grease the wheels for each one of us. May have even helped some of us get married, I think. If your spouse thought better of you after the 60-minute show, please send a thank you note to HF, plus a donation is always welcome. On a more serious note, let me introduce Raj Mashruwala, who will lead the first segment. He will be joined by several past chairs and directors. Raj is the current chair of IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation. More important, he was one of the original signatories to establish Heritage Foundation. His life is one of giving. He has given both time and money over the years to ensure IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation succeed and helps IIT Bombay. Here is Raj Mashruwala.
Thank you, DC. Good evening. I'm delighted to see several hundreds of us gathered today to celebrate the accomplishment of IITB alumni in the US. In this opening panel discussion, our most distinguished alumni will discuss their views. But before we begin the live event, I want to share Kanwal Rekhi's message. Kanwal epitomizes South Asian entrepreneurs. He was the first Indian-American founder and CEO to take a venture-backed company public in 1987. In the 1990s, he co-founded TIE to mentor aspiring entrepreneurs. In 2007, he started one of the first India-focused venture firms. Throughout his career, he practiced what he preached, that is, to give back to the IIT, to the Michigan State, and to the community. For the record, Kanwal graduated in 1967, majoring in Jubilee, and I'm proud to be a fellow Hostel 7 resident. Soon after IITBHF was founded, Kanwal energized the alumni movement with his $2 million donation that established the School of IT. Earlier this week, Vinay Karle spoke to Kanwal, and Kanwal described the event that set the tradition of supporting IITB's tryst with excellence.
I think it was Professor Suratbe, Raj Mashruwala, and maybe Anil Shishar, who came to see me at TIE office. And they wanted me to donate $500 million to $1 million for this Institute of IT, that Professor Professor Bartlett had in mind. So I asked him, he said, we have put in the request to the government of India, and it takes about 5 years to get the approval and money. I said, 5 years to get the approval and money. And why don't we build it ourselves? He says it's 14 crore, it's a lot of money. Yeah, and I said, I'll give my bit. Yeah, I'll give my bit. I asked, how much do you have in available? He said we had nothing available. And so I said, okay, I'll give you maybe half of it right away. And the other half you can have a matching donation competition from other people, and said, yeah, they can match. And that half, I asked, I wasn't on top of the conversion rates. That half turned out to be at that time, roughly about $1.5 million, maybe a little over that. And I said, okay, I'll give you whatever, you spend half of that, and up to $2 million. So I committed $2 million, on that, on the spot. And so they were a little bit stunned because nobody had done that. They had asked for $500 million in the beginning, and I here after almost $2 million. Somebody mumbled, well, you have set up this condition of matching donation from others. Maybe nobody will match, and you will not have to pay. I said, in that case, come back to me. In that case, come back to me, and we'll talk more. But if nobody matches, maybe I'll pick up the whole tab. But I think it was a matter of weeks, Nandan Niletani matched. So they had their money in their hand long before they had a plan, the actual budget, the actual architecture in place. So this is, it was being rushed, because of this donation from me, and matched money from Nandan Niletani. And then, they came back and said, yep, the government has accepted your donation. And, it took them, few weeks, few months. And they want to name it, Turbulity School. And I proposed at that time, why don't we name it after Brigadier Bose, the first director of IIT Bombay. I said, why don't we call it Brigadier Bose, Institute of Technology? And Pathak told me that, no. This thing has gone through, they accepted, the bill got passed, the name got set. Us going back to change the name is a hassle. That's how the name came about. I didn't ask for the name in rights. I proposed the Brigadier Bose's name.
Let me introduce the panel for today's live session. I cannot think of any faculty member better known among the students, academicians, government, and corporates than Professor Deepak Phatak. Revered by students, respected by colleagues, and sought by the industry, Professor Phatak is a mentor and a friend of IITBHF. Let me just share one anecdote of his. He told me that he maintained his sleep schedule to fit his students' work schedule. So he rarely went to bed before 2 a.m. He joins us from Powai. Joining from the New York area is Victor Menezes. When Kanwal Rekhi became a role model for Indian entrepreneurs, Victor Menezes broke the glass ceiling of the mainstream corporate America. He joined Citibank in 1972. Over his career, he lived in nearly every continent and became the CEO and chairman of Citibank International. He retired as the senior vice chairman of Citicorp. Victor Menezes was the founding co-chair of the IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation and the force behind the early successful campaign to establish IIT brand in the US. The Victor Menezes Convention Center on the IIT campus is a brick and mortar symbol of his philanthropy. Victor graduated from IIT in 1970. He's another EE major. He's from Hostel 8, and he's also the first person whose name appears on Hostel 8's Roll of Honor. Let me introduce another Hostel 8 resident, Bharat Desai. Some are great entrepreneurs and some are successful corporate executives, but only a few are both. Bharat started Sintel in his apartment in Detroit. For over 30 years, he led Sintel, which became a multi-billion-dollar global company. There's one thing common among Kanwal, Victor, and Bharat. Not only he opened his checkbook, Bharat guided IITBHF in its evolution. He stepped down as the chairperson of the IITBHF just a few years ago. Bharat too is a EE major from 1975. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining today. Let me begin with Professor Phatak. When Kanwal was opening his checkbook, you were representing the institute. No alumni had written any sizable check until then. The alumni were not on the institute's agenda even. How did the alumni become important to the institute?
In the 90s, when the government of India said that the budgets of IIT system will be frozen and that if you want to do anything new, you have to do it on your own. So that is when Professor Sukhatme, in his wisdom, had created the position of the Dean of Resources, to which I was appointed. And I realized that we do not have as strong a connect with our alumni as it ought to be there. That is when I had noticed in my visits in 94 and 95, with what this group of people, Anil, Raj, several people, they used to regularly spend their weekends in working out as to how to help the alma mater. It was an amazing thing. That is how the foundation was formed, I guess. But I'll come back to Kamal. Whatever Kamal said is absolutely correct. He was the first major donor. I would also try to mention one more thing which I recall. I asked him when I met him with Anil whether there are any other conditions or suggestions he has on how the money should be spent. You know what he said? He said he believed that IIT Bombay has well-defined processes and rules in place for spending money, and he hoped that those will be followed. But he asked me who would be leading the project. I told him Professor Sukhatme has entrusted me with this job. He smiled and said, if you do not do a very good job, then I will have a strong private word with you. Other than that, I have no condition. I mean, that is, I have started writing a note titled People with Golden Heart, and I have met all such people across. I am indeed very fortunate that he did not have an occasion any time later to have a strong private word with me. In fact, what his donation started, two of the major activities. One was a IT business incubator, which has today blossomed into SIGN, which is considered one of the best incubators in the country, and the distance education program, which today has led to an enormous outreach activity that IIT Bombay undertakes through its MOOC platform and others. What I would like to say is that what Kanwal did was far more than just his contributions. He showed his trust in the nascent foundation when it was just formed. He showed his faith that the institute will properly utilize the support offered by alumni when no such evidence existed. It was strengthened immediately by Nandan by matching Kanwal's contribution. It is this foundation of trust and faith that has echoed continuously and consistently by our alumni ever since then. I mean, stalwart like Noor Ali Sonawala in the early days, Victor, Bharat, Ramesh, Ron, many others have followed suit in a grand style. Our alumni are helping us to realize that tryst with destiny dream which Swaz Sukhatme articulated 25 years ago. I am proud of the fact that alumni are part of an unparalleled, thriving organization among the Indian institutions. It is the IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation which initiated all of us in this journey. And the alma mater shall remain ever grateful to that bunch of dedicated individuals led by Anil, Mashru, Sandeep, and several others who built that initial pathway. Kamal, Nandan, and others have since walked on that pathway and have helped to convert it into a highway to it. That's all I would say.
Thank you, Deepak. Victor, you became the first chairperson of IITBHF back in the late 90s. You were then running the entire Citibank's international operation. Why did you get involved in the fledgling IITBHF? What did you get out of it?
Well, I think that I was very fond of IIT Bombay. I have a lot to thank IIT Bombay for, and I felt I could get involved by giving back something. And so we, in fact, started, began the Heritage Foundation. And I remember meeting Professor Sahasrabudhe, and we started developing the idea. And, the interesting thing is that we did a couple of things. We established one of the first alumni databases. This was before Google. This was when Netscape was just about getting there, and most people were dialing up. But with my colleague and friend Ram Kelkar and many other colleagues from IIT Bombay, they established one of the best alumni databases in the country. And that was really the secret of our success. And Nandan and I were involved in getting this started. And there were a couple of other things. One is we focused fairly early on establishing an emotional connection between the alumni and IIT. We didn't ask for money. We tried to establish the emotional connection. Once we started establishing that, then the money began to flow. So we never started out as a asking organization, but a huge number of people, many of whom are on the phone today, Anil, Bharat, lots of people were involved in setting this up. And I think it's that network of alumni who really made IIT Bombay Heritage Fund what it is. So happy Silver Jubilee. Thank you.
Bharat, you have been supporting IITB for the longest period. What are you trying to actually achieve there?
Raj, I've always been humbled by how a young nation like India invested in creating world-class IITs when there was so much demand for those resources. India invested in us, believing that we would be their bridge to a bright future. I've always believed that it is our responsibility to invest in future generations to help our institute's brand and to create the future of our fellow students. There were two initiatives that I'll call out that our family got involved in. One was the School of Entrepreneurship. Our journey, that's my wife and I, were partners on this journey, was so fulfilling that we thought, why not help thousands of other people embark on journeys of their own and realize their dreams. We also said, let's find a way to codify the learnings of entrepreneurs from around the world to create a body of knowledge for the journeys of future entrepreneurs. This is what inspired us to support the School of Entrepreneurship at IIT Bombay. One other initiative I'll mention is a few years ago, we launched a full scholarship for the top 5 female students from the joint entrance exam joining IIT. Our goal was simple. We wanted to attract bright young women to engineering and to IIT Bombay. And we thought that the lure of a full scholarship would get the attention of many, many women, many, many young girls who would aspire to get into engineering and aspire to join IIT Bombay. And our hope in all this is to create opportunities for IIT Bombay students and to help them excel on multiple fronts and hope that IIT Bombay becomes a recognized global brand.
Thank you, Bharat. Victor, if you have to sort of set objectives or challenge for IITBHF for the next 10 years, what would you actually, how would you challenge them?
I think that IITBHF has done very well in providing hardware to IIT Bombay, buildings, facilities, computers, etc., etc. I think the alumni have to get, and I don't think I've succeeded in doing this, be far more involved in the software of IIT Bombay. The thinking, the strategy, the governance, how does it evolve as an academic institution? Now, we cannot run it. It's ought to be run by the people there, but I think we can influence the philosophy and we can influence the software of IIT Bombay. So my challenge would be, how can we do that most effectively?
Thank you, Victor. I'm afraid that this is all the time we have today. I do want to thank all the three panel members for taking really big time of the busy schedule. But before we go, one last thing. I cannot let Professor Phatak go without one of his stories. Deepak, what's your favorite alumni story?
Well, there are several, but I will just state one because I see Gautam Advani in the audience. Several years ago, I had suggested what I call the Guru Dakshina tax, saying that every alumnus should contribute 1% or 2% of his or her taxable income annually to the institute. And when I told this, Gautam started laughing. I asked him why he's laughing. He said, no self-respecting Sindhi ever pays taxes. So if you want a percentage of taxable income, I'm very glad to write you a 0 rupee check. But he suggested that ask for 1% or 0.5% of the total income and you will get a lot of money. Well, I mean, as I said, I'm going to write this and I'll finish it within 1 month with photographs collected and everything. But it has been an absolutely amazing journey. Going forward, I would say that it is our combined job to ensure that every alumnus, each one, remains connected and remains related to the institute. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Raj. Thanks, Dr. Phatak, Bharat, Victor, Kanwal. Let's give a big virtual thanks to all of them. What a panel. Great job in reviving old memories, but even more important, a lesson on how just one person can bring about meaningful change. We can all learn from the experiences as we rebuild Heritage Foundation for the future. At this moment, I'd like to thank all the past donors and volunteers, including board members and chapter leaders who have helped make IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation what it is today. There are several hundreds of them, but I'll just name the 4 past presidents who played a pivotal role: Anil Shirsagar, Ram Kelkar, Sandeep Pandya, and Ron Mehta. As you'll note from the next segment, what Heritage Foundation has achieved over the last 25 years is due to the really unmatched volunteer efforts over the years. I'll like to repeat, unmatched volunteer efforts. Again, a big thanks to them. The next segment covers a brief overview of Heritage Foundation's 25-year history and achievements, lives touched, scholarships given, donations received, and labs and buildings built. Sridhar Kona, and Heritage Foundation volunteer for over 15 years, will cover this segment. Here is Sridhar.
Thank you, DC. Could we show the timeline slide, please? Good evening, folks, and a very good morning to our friends in India, a bright and early one. So, folks, as we celebrate this remarkable journey of IITBHF, we want to share with you a video or a photo essay of HF's accomplishments over the past 25 years. But before we do that, we would also like to give you a sense of how Heritage Foundation evolved over the years. And what you see on the screen right now is a very, very high level timeline of HF, starting with its formal establishment in 1996, which itself was preceded by decade-long alumni activities across the country. In the interest of time, I will draw your attention to just a couple of milestones, and some of them have already been discussed prior in the past few minutes. In the late 90s, saw some remarkable events, including the generous donation from Kanwal Rekhi, which broke new ground for IIT Bombay alumni donations. And in 1999, the Chicago event, in which Professor Sukhatme inspired IITBHF to set ambitious, audacious goals with his words on IIT's tryst with excellence. And that was indeed a seminal moment in the history of HF. And 2000 to 2010, we saw Heritage Foundation launch many initiatives, including hats, fan, and more. 2010 to present, the organization matured into an entity with model governance, earning GuideStar's Platinum rating. So congratulations to all of us for reaching this milestone and reaching it with so much to show for. And as you watch this video, we would like to urge you to not just see the physical infrastructure and the dollar numbers, but we want to remind you of the blood, sweat, and tears of our intrepid IIT Bombay alumni volunteers through these images. As Professor Phatak recognizes many a time, you folks are not only generous with your monetary donations, but you also give time to your beloved institution. Time, a resource that cannot be earned back. And these are his words. New York to Bay Area, Michigan to Texas, Boston to LA, you've all been engaged and involved in this effort. And there are so many known and unknown volunteers, so many sung and unsung heroes in this journey. We sincerely hope, as you watch this video, you'll be inspired by how far we've come as an alumni body from its humble origins. We also sincerely hope that this sheer volunteer energy will fuel our alumni organization to new heights. And before we play the video, due credit to Subhash Srinivasan and Sudha Rangan of Heritage Foundation for their immense effort to collect and organize all this imagery in this video. They always keep us on the straight and narrow. Also, a shout out to our DRF friends for producing this high quality video in a very short span of time. With that, please go ahead and start the video.
Thank you, Sridhar. What a great effort. I hope you folks liked the video. Sometimes we need to let everybody know of our past achievements, as it's important that we learn and know about our history and learn from it. Only then we'll really know what we are capable of doing in the future. And we need to do more, a lot more, as they say, up our game to help IIT Bombay meet its trust with excellence. In the last segment, Director Subhashish Chaudhary will talk about IIT Bombay's vision for growth at 75. It is Heritage Foundation's vision as well. We are partners and we fully support and will do all we can do to make that vision come alive. Director Chaudhary has been in his new role for over 2 years now. However, he knows IIT Bombay intimately, having served for over 30 years there in different teaching and leadership positions. Nobody understands what IIT Bombay's future can be at 75 better than him. Equally important, he knows what IIT Bombay needs to do to deliver on its vision for growth. Here is Director Subhashish Chaudhary.
Thank you, DC. Good morning and good evening to people from all around the world. First of all, it's a big congratulations to HF, because this is the first beginning of such celebrations, which happens, sometimes at 25, then 40, then 50 and 60, just like IIT Bombay itself had gone through such. And I think from the part of the institute, IIT Bombay, I offer my sincere most thank you to HF, which has helped IIT Bombay to come to a level, not only in terms of brand building, but also in terms of what we have achieved. And thank you so much. But with that, I take this opportunity to very briefly present our view of where we would like to be. And I would request the presentation, if it can be uploaded. So I'll just walk you through very quickly in terms of a vision that we think that IIT Bombay would be at 75. So today we are around 63. So it's about 12 years, but at some point we'll give you a plan for like a 5-year. So next, please. So if you look at aspirations, one of these video that you had, we would like to be definitely in the top 50 in the world. In terms of subject-wise, I think we are, but in the university with the fulfilling all the needs of a proper university, we would like to be there. We would like to also provide an ambience of excellence, where excellence breathes, because that's what Professor Sukhatme said, we have a tryst with excellence. That's what we are shooting for. Okay. We would also, like if you look at the evolution of IIT Bombay's, I would say it's like, I told earlier that we are like IIT 3.0, where we would like to go beyond normally what we do in terms of just teaching and research. We would like to contribute significantly to Indian economy and also to make greater societal impact. That's what we need to do it. And all major universities in the world, they actually are, this is the track, that's where they start excelling once they have been in existence for quite some time. Now, this next point is to bootstrap with, rather than getting buried under the IITB brand name, is the reason I'm telling that, see, thanks to HF and many of our distinguished alumni, we are here at the big brand name. It's one of the biggest brand name probably in India. And there is always a danger of getting buried under your own, this brand name, the pressure of, I think Tagore said, it's the weight of the crown sits heavy on the king. So what is happening, sometimes we are being so scrutinized by the people, by the media and others. So we'll have to really see that, how to go beyond that and keep delivering at a much, much better level. And that's where our action is what it should speak. And to do that, what is required is to have the kinds of financial resilience that the system needs, not like the vagaries of, okay, our infrastructure is falling apart. We are not going to, take care of them. We have students, we are not able to fit into the dorm. So these are the problems that we face. And that's where we need this financial resilience. Next, please. Now, this is the slide with the twist up, with excellence. This, the question is, when we want to go ahead in the value chain, okay, building even bigger brand name, and not only that, delivering them. So how do you do it? What is your vision in terms of doing it? So first of all, in order to bring people together, our faculty, students, and the industry, we need to set up around 8 to 10 center of excellences, and they could be based on the importance of the area, the prospect, and the impact that it makes. Okay. And I think since Bharat is here, I would say that what is required is to emphasize the entrepreneurial ecosystem. It has to be, given a big push, and there are like several verticals. We have to make better connect with the industry. We already have Sign, which is doing very well, but we have to take it to the next level. We have this Desai Sethi School of Entrepreneurship. This is where we would like to onboard many of our students and faculty getting into the practice of being an entrepreneur. We are also having the research part to connect with the industry. And also, since many of our research doesn't lead to a level where it could be absorbed by the industry or translated, we also need TRL booster. Now, the next one is that, in order to get a wider kind of acceptance, as well as to have some kind of revenue generation and taking advantage of the current expanse of digital education, we need to scale up our executive and digital education through our partners. Okay. We need to enhance our international collaborators because they give you a lot more visibility. And, the next one is very important because the center of, the IIT deals with two basic units. One is, of course, the students who are currently enrolled and the professors. And the kind of activities many times are faculty dominated. So we'll have to make sure the faculty gets more time, and they can do what they're supposed to do. So free them up from admin burden. For the students, we need to keep on revising the curricula, and we'll have to give them the option to learn what they want to learn rather than what we want them to learn. Okay. And we are already working on several kind of programs like, the liberal engineering education, which would be coming in another, the next year onwards. And then also what we need is that we realize that, most of us, particularly in the administrations, are so much buried into doing certain activities which could be professionally, executed. And this, what happens is not letting us view beyond maybe tomorrow. So can you get some kind of an administrative reform which will free up the functionaries of the institute so that you can think for, much beyond tomorrow and not just like, going for a microscope and see how do I do the Lego, blocks, match it so that I can survive for tomorrow. And of course, what is definitely required is to improve the infrastructure. And by the way, this is certain things we have been working with McKinsey. And, we came up with this kind of plan so that actually it leads us to the next level. So next one, please. Now, when we talk about certain things like, this is our excellence, these are the points we would like to do. Now, we should also say that how do we know that, we have achieved excellence? What is the thing? Our vision is in the right direction. So we should have periodic evaluation. And we need to define certain set of metrics to see that, we are doing fine. And I give you some tentative numbers. These are something that we can always discuss and come something like this. So when you talk about the entrepreneurship, so let's say the number of companies that we're getting like a Series A funding, can it be like, over a period of 5 years? Can it be like at least 25? Okay. Our own faculty students, they're starting up, in our Sign incubator. Maybe we should take it at by the time we are 75, it's around 40 or so per year. We need to have industry connect. Can you make it like a 3x jump, in what kind of the monetary engagements that we have with the industry. The faculty value, since we would like to free them up from the kind of activities that they are doing today. Even to buy certain things, you have to go to some GEM portal. This faculty has to do everything. So if we can improve that, so does it translate to something like at least 25% increase per faculty? Let's say number of publications or citations. These are the numbers that we have to look into this. So when you talk about the administration, we said that we would like to improve, the efficiency. Can the processing time be at least halved? That's what, so basically it could go into the benefiting the system of faster turnaround time. Similarly for infrastructure, since this is something where we are really not doing well, so can you provide at least, let's say 35 square meter of space per students? This includes their dorm space and others. Whereas for faculty, excluding their housing, so can you give them 75 square meter of space per faculty for laboratory and other stuff? Similarly, for regular staff, those who are working, can we give them at least 15 square meter of space? And then of course we'll have classrooms and others. That's something beyond. And of course the last one is because of we are trying to generate funding from various sources, including from our faculty, our alumni. Can the institute earning be something like 50% of our yearly budget? Because that would also give us a lot of freedom in terms of doing what we would like to do. Next, please. Now, of course, since students is a core of any educational system, so I could put it like some of the things that in order to enhance the student experience, we need to improve on their housing. So we need at least to have like a 4,000 students, which is like, to accommodate them in their hostels. So we need at least 4 hostels, and these are mega hostels with a good high quality hostels, Then it's already, I think, we need to improve. I think this has come several times and some of our alumni have helped us also in terms of setting up soft skill development and career discovery center. We would also like to explore them to various other facets of life. So can you have a performing arts community center? So then students can perform. For their scholarships and others, can we support them in terms of their scholarship or a dissertation project or PhD advanced research projects, or a TRL booster? And of course, the next one is that we need to also give them better sports and recreational facilities. Of course, performing arts is a part of the recreational, but this is also a learning part there. And we can go to the next one. Now, if you look at all this now, instead of 75, I just, based on our discussion with McKinsey, we're giving you like a 5-year funding gap that we could just work out with them. And and these are all in thousands of crore. So if you look at what is the current scenario, so as of now, we need to the leftmost, the best case. So we need around 8,300 crores of our, over a period of 5 years. That's the kind of thing that we need. But then if you jump to the one where you have the fourth one, the current sources, So if you see it over there, so you will find that we are about 7.2 is what we have. But if we just want to build, let's say the 4,000 seater hostels, like 4 of them in 1,000 each, so that will take us at least an additional 2,200 crore worth of other things that you need to spruce up the infrastructure which is demanded today. So and then of course, if you look at our aspirations to match in 5 years, we need around 10,500 crores worth of total kind of financial outlay. Now, since we have something like 7.2, so it means around 3,200 to 3,400 crore is basically the shortfall that we have to generate over the next 5 years. The question is, how do you make it? So if you look at currently we have this 7.2, we expect additional government funding of something like 400 to 500 crores. And then the funding gap that has to be made from somewhere differently. Okay. So the executive education, which is picking up quite a bit of steam all over the world and definitely in India. So we need to spruce up our executive education, and we need something like, we should be able to generate something like 200 to 250 crores per year. If that happens, so we do make up certain things. Similarly, industry project, as I said, if we get it, so we are expecting to something like 100 crore to 150 crores per year. So that would give us some kind of additional support. And we expect the donations and different type of endowments to be something like 1,000 to 1,300 crores. That's what is the shortfall. We have not put the sign that the income from sign, because normally the gestation of that is, it takes a much longer time. So that's the overall ballpark figure that we are looking up to fill up the kind of needs of the IIT Bombay. And maybe Percival, the next one, please. Yeah, so how can you support us? Okay. So if there are several ways you can do it, one is of course the unrestricted cash. So it will give us rather the long-term financial stability and to sustain the world-class operations. Okay. Now there could be also like a restricted or focus grant, where it could be like setting up your center of excellences, helping the entrepreneurship fund, the vision fund, as you said, that we need to change the administration. So where we would like to embed the professional executives into our system, so they cannot be supported from the government money. So we need the that kind of a vision fund. Okay. Now research also, some of them are very focused, interested in getting specific research items, helping the faculty in terms of their chair professors, travel, awards, grants, whatever to, students, of course, I mentioned that. And then, of course, the infrastructure revamping. So that takes up quite a bit of significant amount of resource. And the form of donations could come in various ways. We are very flexible. You can think of something new, we'll be very happy to consider. It could start with the basic naming rights to equity and property, being given to IIT Bombay, insurance being, IIT Bombay being part of your insurance beneficiary. It could be part of the bequest. Okay, it could be a simple regular giving on a day-to-day basis, and of course there could be certain things could be transformational, which are like a major donation. Okay, now next one, please. I think that's where I think I come to the close. So this is the road, same road you have traveled, and I think we have to travel for at least another 10, 12 years to come to the level where we see that our vision is getting materialized. So I'd like to thank all of you for being there, and let's work together to see that the vision gets materialized. Thank you so much. Back to DC.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Chowdhury, for laying out the vision for our alma mater that we all deeply care about. And for the audience, we are almost coming towards the end of the program, but you don't want to miss this. We are going to hear from one of our legendary directors, Professor Sukatme, who was instrumental, as you heard earlier, in turbocharging the alumni movement. It's an honor to introduce him, who needs no introduction. Professor Sukatme, for most of us, needs no introduction. So I'm not going to read his bio, but I do want to share an anecdote which you may not know. This is a double silver jubilee for me and my classmates, class of 1996. About 25 years ago, just as IITBHF was being established, my batch, the class of 1996, received our degrees from the hands of Professor Sukatme. And at the end of his speech, the graduation speech, he said a few words which as we heard earlier, have become a clarion call for all of us. IIT Bombay is stressed with excellence. And this was what he told me. It was very interesting. This was a last-minute addition to his speech, which didn't even make it to the booklet. So if you look for the booklet, it won't be there. Later in 1999, as we saw on the timeline, in a rousing speech in Chicago in 99, he again reminded us of our tryst with excellence. So without further ado, let's hear his video message on how he sees alumni movement going forward, which he seeded a quarter century ago. So please.
Let me look forward for a couple of minutes. IIT Bombay Heritage Fund has done an excellent job so far. Outstanding, I would say. Already, approximately $50 million and more have come to the institute over the years through the IIT Bombay Heritage Fund. And we need to keep this momentum going. There's no such thing as this program ending. Educational institutions all over the world, including our IIT, will keep on needing funds. I mean, there's no way out and saying you collect a certain amount and then it stops. Educational institutions do need money because tuition fees in general pay what, 10, 15%, 20% of the total expense. The other has to come from donations or from an endowment fund which you build over the years. The interest from that in that endowment fund. So the work has to continue, and it's not just when I say contribute more or request you on behalf of the institute to do that. I'm not really saying this in a sense that it's just for IIT Bombay. You see, giving back to society is a duty of all educated people who've had the, shall I say, the privilege of receiving a good education, have cashed in on it, have done well with their careers. And it is only correct that they should give back to society in a different way, give back to that society. And one such is through donations. So I do make this fervent plea today again. Let me conclude by giving my best wishes again to our alumni and to the IIT Bombay Heritage Fund. And I just thought I'd end by on a personal note. I stay in Bombay, as you know, Mumbai, on the 8th floor of a 12-story building. And this 12-story building is in the Hiranandani Gardens. And I'm on the 8th floor. And very often when I get up in the morning and go out into the refuge area, which is on the 8th floor, I see in front of me the lake, the Powai Lake, and IIT Bombay in the distance. And it's what you call a very fine feeling to see the institute there in the green surroundings. One doesn't see all the buildings. One sees the hills and the buildings which stand above the trees and the tree cover that's all over around Powai Lake, where the campus is. One sees some of the new hostels, which are tall buildings and so on. And when I see that, what I feel is what many people have said to me. They have said the description of IIT Bombay comes to me. It's been described very well, I thought, as a monastery, as a sanctuary, and as a laboratory. And may it continue to do so over the years, and let young minds which join it grow and flourish. That's the wish with which I'd like to close this presentation today. Thank you very much.
What a great message to end our program, the formal part of the program, but stay on. We have breakout rooms. Before we go there, I just wanted to thank the IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation Silver Jubilee team that put the program together. There are too many people to name, so I'm not going to name them. You heard DC and Sridhar acknowledge many of them. Obviously, it took a lot of efforts to put this event together. However, I did want to extend on our behalf a special thanks to Sudha and Subha, our office managers here in the Heritage Foundation. Also, thanks to our partners, DRF partners, Ravi Shankar, Kalyani, Bhuvi, and Akshay for their immense support. This excellent video that you saw was produced by one of our own alums. He's an IDC alum, as I mentioned, Akshay. And thanks to you, the audience, who took the time out, to the panelists, our alums in India who were up bright and early. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for your generosity. We have had many successful fundraising drives. Last year, we did the laptop drive for COVID help for IIT Bombay, very successful. So thank you for being generous. So if in the last 25 years, and we look forward to more of those in future. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to our sister organization, IIT Bombay Alumni Association, who are celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. So a shout out to you guys for joining us and publicizing the event. So with this, let's open the session for breakout rooms. Feel free to join your regional rooms. We have chapters and regions organized. So hopefully it's unmonitored. Talk to your friends, enjoy CAC until whenever your heart's content. Thank you.